Hello, family. I want to talk a little bit about contraceptives, right? Because as many of you know, the Ministry of Health and Wellness just recently announced that they want to enforce prescription for contraceptives, and a lot of women, have concerns about that. Some of them agree with it, some of them not really agree with it. But the main concern is that they hear rumors that their contraceptives could cause cancer, cysts, or fibroids, and they want to know if they got any truth to it, right? And I basically just want to present to some studies, some scientific studies where then doctors will don't look into it and basically report what they find. So I'm gonna basically talk about a study in 2009 and a study done again in 2015, right? Now, before I talk about the studies, we just have to talk a little bit about hormones, because if we talk about contraceptives, we have to talk about hormones, and you have to understand what hormones is, right? So basically, I want you to look at it like this. I want you to imagine that hormones, basically, that they are tiny messages, right? Like text message that your body send. And you send it so that it could communicate with the rest of the body, right? Now, imagine now you get spam message. Spam, meaning that, like when you look at your phone and then they try to sell you something, right? Or you get email and you see spam messages, then I just junk message, right? Now, when there are spam messages come in your system, it kind of disrupt your system, right? So we are called their spam messages endocrine disruptors. Why? Because when you look at the body and you want to know how they call the hormonal system, they call it endocrine system. So we want to call their spam messages endocrine disrupting chemicals. So then disrupt your hormonal system, right? In this 2009 study, basically they find a few things, right? Were very concerning and very alarming. One, they find that there are chemicals, if you put in your body, it mimic hormones, meaning it look just like hormones. Your body, it fooled the body into believing that it look a hormone, right? That's one. Another thing it do is that it bind to other hormones. So let's say your body produces a hormone, and then you have an endocrine disruptor. What he do here, bind from this hormone right here. And once it bind from this hormone, your body can't use this anymore. It makes this hormone unusable. Okay? Another thing what it could do is it could turn one hormone into another type of hormone. Another thing we could do is they are endocrine disrupting chemicals then could accumulate in a different parts of your organs will produce hormones. So because like your thyroid or your ovaries, then the chemicals could accumulate right there. And once you accumulate right there, it could cause problem. Another thing we could do is that their chemicals could increase the production of certain hormones or decrease the production of certain hormones. So as you could see, once the chemicals go in your body, start to cause disruption, chaos, all kind of disorder, right? So this contraceptive basically that way contain, right? But there are chemicals not only there in the contraceptives. You can find it in other places too. You can find it like in plastic bottles. You can find it in receipts, in scented soaps. You can find it in like you see the pesticides, the poison where they spray in agriculture when they grow the food. Okay, then there are pesticides. You could even find it in makeup. So you can find it all over the place. So there, in 2009, right, there are a big group of doctors who study just hormones. Then are the Endocrine Society. And they write a report on their chemicals. And they find some very alarming things too. Apart what I just mentioned, they also find that they will say you're pregnant. And you have a little baby girl in your belly, right? If you consume endocrine disruptors, that one go in your baby, and when your baby born, that chemical will disrupt your baby's development of her endocrine system. So you consume it, you could pass the consequences on to your baby. That's very alarming, right? Another thing what I find is that their chemicals tend to increase the chances of a breast cancer, uterine cancer, and other type of hormone-related cancer. They find that it related to and linked to fibroid cysts, endometriosis, and if you got problems getting pregnant or problems remaining pregnant, keeping the pregnancy, they find that there are chemicals responsible for many of them there. So even the irregular periods, irregular menstruation, or cramps, very, very chronic cramp pain, they find that there are chemicals linked to all of that. So they find alarming amount of things where their endocrine disrupting chemicals do when they go in the body. Now, in 2015, these are 6 years later, right? The same doctors, what they do is they do a follow-up report, right? And this time they review 1,300 more studies, new studies, so that they could get a better picture of what they deal with, right? And what happened is that this 2015 report, all they do is reinforce and strengthen everything that they may find out in 2009, right? So they had to conclude that there are everyday chemicals very toxic to the endocrine system, very toxic, and it is responsible for the increase of women's sicknesses, women's health issues. So it don't matter if that the pill, the patch, the shot, the IUD, all of the things right there, although women really like them, a lot of women like them because it works. It actually can help for avoid pregnancy. But the thing is how it work. It trick your body into believing that you kind of already pregnant, and what you do is that you not ovulate. Your ovaries not release an egg, and if your ovaries not release an egg, you not produce the proper amount of progesterone. So automatically, taking contraceptives already throw you off your menstrual cycle. Yes, it could temporarily appear that it's helping, temporarily, but you're still gonna see the effects. You're still gonna see the effects. You have to understand, right, that there are chemicals, there are endocrine disrupting chemicals. They're not toxins. That's what it is. They're toxic to the body. They're toxins, and then eventually your body have to detoxify it, and you have to go through your detoxification mechanism. The process of detoxifying has to go through that, and because if you're not detoxified, it will remain in the body, or it could remain in the body. And when you do that, where it will remain and it will accumulate in different areas, and that accumulation that we have called fibroids, cysts, cancer, and tumor. So you have to consider in a way the good versus the bad, right? You have to consider that, because there are chemicals kind of hard to avoid, because you can find it in your shampoo, your hairspray, your lipstick, your body lotion, your perfume, your nail varnish. You can find it in your eyeshadows. You can find it all over the place. Especially beauty products have a lot of it. And the thing is, once you put that thing on your skin will absorb it, or may absorb it, right? So you have to consider that although it helps to prevent pregnancy, it comes with consequences. And I think you women deserve to know the truth and be presented with the facts. Because according to the studies, they don't confirm that the endocrine disruptors are responsible for a lot of damage. And if you decide to still take the risk, you have to remember there are consequences, costly, because then you want to spend a lot of money for analysis, testing, doctor visits, so much money you want to spend, and that money will could have go to your family, go to your kids, money will go to your house, or something for the betterment of your family. What you do, you could potentially put a burden by your family, because now that you know that the thing could cause that, well, you could make better decisions, be a responsible adult. But it's all up to you. Now again, you could look this up. You could go online and you could Google it. If you want to find this study, you Google endocrine disrupting chemicals, an Endocrine Society scientific statement published in the Endocrine Reviews in June 2009, volume 30, issue 4, pages 293 to 342.